Did you know that in just 50 years, a country devastated by war transformed into one of the world's leading economies? This isn't a fairy tale, it's the real-life story of South Korea. But how did this transformation happen, really? How did a country rise from the ashes of war to become a global powerhouse? Well, it all started after World War II, when Korea was divided at the 38th parallel into North Korea and South Korea. The North was backed by the Soviet Union, while the South was supported by the United States. In 1950, North Korea invaded South Korea, and the war quickly escalated into an international crisis. And let me tell you, it was so brutal and devastating. It resulted in the deaths of approximately 2 million Koreans, 600,000 Chinese, 37,000 Americans, and 3,000 Turks, Britons, and other nationals in the UN forces. The war ended, leaving the Korean peninsula in ruins. The impact on the civilian population was especially dramatic, with families broken up by the war and living on opposite sides of the demilitarized zone, and unable to visit or even communicate with each other. I mean, just imagine the pain. After the war, the country became one of the poorest in the world, with a primarily agricultural economy. The whole infrastructure was destroyed, and the country was heavily dependent on foreign aid. However, South Koreans didn't let this define them. They were determined to rebuild their country and improve their living conditions. Interestingly, the post-Korean War was a period of South Korea's history that is often referred as the miracle on the Han River. Now, why miracle, you ask? It's because South Korea did something extraordinary. In 1960, the South Korean government implemented plenty of policies to shift the economy from agriculture to industry. Then in 1962, the South Korean government launched the first 5-year economic development plan under the leadership of President Park Chung-hee. Just like a person learning to play a musical instrument, South Korea started from scratch. At first, it was all about getting the basics right, setting up industries, building infrastructure, and stabilizing the economy. It was like learning to play the scales on a piano. They initially focused on labor-intensive industries such as textiles and footwear. But with time, practice, and a lot of hard work, South Korea started to play more complex tunes. They moved into capital-intensive industries, much like a pianist moving from scales to sonatas. By the 1980s, South Korea had moved into high-tech industries such as electronics and automobiles. Another key factor in South Korea's economic success was its export-oriented policies. By opening up to foreign markets, the country was able to transform its economy, boosting the GDP to rise. Today, South Korea is now one of the top 10 exporters in the world. South Korea understood one thing very early, that the real wealth of a nation lies in its people. Their skills, their knowledge, their creativity, and you know what? They invested heavily in education, viewing it as a critical tool for human capital development. If you don't know, human capital is the collective skills, knowledge, and other intangible assets of individuals that can be used to create economic value. In more simple words, it's all about investing in people, from their education to their health, and also their capabilities. And South Korea did just that. The government policies specifically included expanding access to education. They built schools, trained teachers, and made education compulsory for all children. Within just 10 years, the country's illiteracy rate dropped from 78% to 4%. This educated workforce played a key role in driving South Korea's economic growth. South Korea also focused on higher education, recognizing its role in fostering innovation and technological advancement. The result is right in front of you. Today, South Korean students consistently rank among the top performers in international assessments like PISA. South Korea now has one of the highest literacy rates in the world and also one of the highest rates of tertiary educational attainment in the world. Another significant player in South Korea's economic landscape were the chaebols. Interestingly, the term chaebol is derived from the Korean words chae, wealth, and bol, clan or clique, referring to family-owned conglomerates that span diverse industries. Chaebols played a huge role, evolving from small enterprises into formidable entities, alongside the country's economic growth trajectory. Since the early 1960s, the South Korean government has staunchly supported chaebols, fostering internationally renowned brands like Samsung and Hyundai. Through subsidies, loans, and tax incentives, the government bolstered their expansion, cementing their status as economic powerhouses. The top 5 chaebols collectively command a significant portion of the South Korean stock market's value and drive the lion's share of the nation's investment in research and development. For instance, Samsung Electronics, the flagship affiliate of the Samsung Group, boasts a global workforce exceeding 300,000 employees, surpassing the combined workforce of Apple with 123,000 and Google, 88,000. However, in recent times, chaebols have faced scrutiny amid South Korea's economic slowdown and a string of high-profile corruption scandals. There's growing public demand for chaebol reform, advocating for enhanced transparency and accountability within these conglomerates. Getting back to our story, in 1997, South Korea, along with much of East and Southeast Asia, was hit by a major financial crisis. This famous crisis, known as the Asian Financial Crisis, started in Thailand in July 1997. The Thai government's decision to float the baht, prompted by a shortage of foreign currency to support its peg to the US dollar, triggered a rapid depreciation of the currency. This depreciation swiftly spread across the region, leading to a widespread currency crisis. By October, the contagion had reached South Korea, where the won plummeted from approximately 900 to the dollar to 1,695 by the end of 1997. Similarly, the Indonesian rupiah, trading at around 2,400 to the dollar in June 1997, nosedived to 14,900 by June 1998, marking a dramatic decline to less than 1/6 its pre-crisis value. This infamous crisis stemmed from economic growth strategies that encouraged investment but also resulted in soaring levels of debt, escalating risk levels in the process. In response, the International Monetary Fund intervened, initiating a $40 billion program aimed at stabilizing the currencies of severely affected economies such as South Korea, Thailand, and Indonesia. Despite the IMF's efforts to mitigate the global economic meltdown, South Korea faced some major domestic challenges. But rather than succumbing to the adversity, the country implemented reforms, bouncing back from the crisis and emerging even stronger. Today, South Korea is a completely different picture from what it was in the aftermath of the Korean War. It's a vibrant, bustling country that's a global leader in technology and innovation. South Korea is the 11th largest economy in the world by nominal GDP. It's a member of the G20 and the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, or OECD in short. South Korea is known for its spectacular rise from one of the poorest countries in the world to a developed high-income country in just a few generations. Like we mentioned earlier in the video, this economic growth has been described as the miracle on the Han River. Did you know that South Korea's real gross domestic product (GDP) grew on average by 4.9% annually between 1988 and 2022? All because of the country's resilience and strategic planning. It's a key factor in South Korea's success in just a few decades. Apart from success in numbers, there's another equally fascinating transformation, the cultural transformation. As South Korea developed economically, its culture also evolved. In the early days, South Korea's cultural scene was heavily influenced by the government. Artistic expression was often suppressed, and Western music was strictly controlled. But as the country opened up and liberalized, so did its cultural scene. And yeah, how can we forget about K-pop and K-dramas? They are so good that they have gained massive global popularity. That's South Korea's soft power at work. South Korea is also a leader in technology and innovation. It's home to some of the world's leading tech companies, including Samsung, like we said, LG and Hyundai. All these companies are at the forefront of technological advancements in the fields of smartphones, televisions, and automobiles. In terms of infrastructure, South Korea boasts one of the world's most advanced internet networks with the highest, yes, the highest average internet connection speed in the world. It's also known for its efficient public transportation system, which includes high-speed trains, buses, and subways. Now we know South Korea's past, the rise, and where it stands today. But what can we take away from this incredible story of transformation? First of all, South Korea's story teaches us about the power of determination and, of course, resilience. Despite the many challenges they faced, South Koreans never gave up. They were determined to rebuild their country and improve their living conditions. It's a reminder that no matter how difficult the circumstances, with determination and resilience, we can overcome. Secondly, we can all agree that South Korea's economic development is mostly because of innovation and entrepreneurship. The rise of chaebols tells us how small businesses can grow and thrive with the right support and opportunities. Lastly, the Asian financial crisis serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of excessive debt and the importance of sound economic policies. It also tells us the crucial role of international cooperation in addressing global economic crisis. And that's a wrap for today's video. If we talk about 2024, well, the country is grappling with some serious issues like an aging population, a very low birth rate, and the ongoing threat from North Korea. But if history is any indication, South Korea is more than capable of overcoming these challenges. Now we'd love to hear from you. What do you think about South Korea's incredible transformation? Do you think other countries can replicate their success? Drop your thoughts in comments below. And if you found this video useful, please like it and make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Thank you for watching.